So yeah, we're doing another on the couch episode, and this time the belated Velvet Underground top 10. I would say number 10, we could say is easily I'm Waiting for the Man. This is a song about, buying dope in like Harlem or, Manhattan, Upper East Side, West Side, whatever. Fourth and Lexington, 125. It's a good song. It's not the number one song on this list. It's only number 10. I think it's a little gross and it's a little cheesy the way it's delivered. It's about a guy who's supposed to go up to get laid with black women, but he ends up just buying drugs. And it's a funny song, but it's not really a meaningful song, unless you really, delve into it. And then it's a little too meaningful. It's about a guy who can't get laid and only likes drugs. But that's number 10 because it's so funny. Number 9, let's do Lisa Says. It's a fun song, not really the best Says song. There'll be another Says song, but Lisa Says pretty good. It's a good coffee shop all around um, moment. And yeah, I so that's number 9. I think that's a good intro song if you don't know VU quite well. Lisa Says is a good sort of middle of the road approach, a bowl tune. And then it's got decent instrumentation. It's a respectable kind of ballad. It doesn't have a lot of problems. It's not controversial lyrically, from what I can remember. So that's number 9. Lisa Says. Number 8 is hmm, let's do easy. Let's do. All right. I mean, there's a lot of great material, so it's gonna start. It's gonna jump up. Let's do. I'll be your mirror. Or no, better. Yeah, better. Yeah, I'll be your mirror. This is a tune that's sort of. It's a little. It's a little. Idealistic and beautiful and profound for the kind of music that Underground tends to do. But it's also heartwarming in a way that is in line with Velvet Underground's better, more romantic material. I just think it's a little it has Nico singing about being mirror when you are let down, blah blah blah, not strong, blah blah blah. It's a really kind of cutesy song and one of their more uplifting ones. Very aesthetic and ethereal. I'll be your mirror at number 8. Number 7 is quite possibly Femme Fatale. I think Femme Fatale is. Or let's do Heroin. I think Heroin is a track that everyone kind of knows. It's really got impressive lyrics. It's sort of a visionary quest in one little encapsulation and sound. It was the heartbeat of the heroin addict can be heard pulsating throughout the song. It's all sort of, like I said before, ethereal, very mystic vision. Uh, clipper ships out in the distance, thoughts of home, thoughts of alienation. Quite the Moby Dick themed tune. Resonates with people who like literature. Heroin is a great song for people that want to just sort of feel their own feelings and not much else. And even some of the feelings they have, they don't want to feel either. It's a lot like Comfortably Numb. It's probably the Comfortably Numb for the Velvet Underground, which I think uh, it might be even be a better band than Pink Floyd if you consider the lyrical brilliance compared to Floyd, which is um, sort of whoopsie daisy all the time and not really coherent. Velvet Ground is a more coherent band than Pink Floyd, in my impression. So that's number seven, Heroin. Number six, we'll do uh, Pale Blue Eyes. I think this is unlike I'll Be Your Mirror. This is a more tragic song. It's not really empowering. It's about a bitter end to a tryst, or sweet nothing relationship. Um, I say Sweet Nothing because that's another song, but by VU. I would say Pale Blue Eyes is really a song about the tragedy of love, not the glory. And at the same time, it is very beautiful. And the guitar is Sterling Morrison's guitar playing is just exceptional. Very cute weaving of strings there. I say cute, a very exquisite. That's what I meant. Weaving of strings. Number six is I'm probably doing a little extra on this because there's so many good songs. The material just speaks for itself. Number six, the names are even good, or poetic, I should say. Number six, without gushing too much, I would say number six is Sunday Morning. I think Sunday Morning is there's the Maroon's five song called Sunday Morning, which may or may not be just copying the Velvet Underground track in the title. But I think Sunday Morning is a really brisk. It's a brisky kind of breezy kind of shot in the dark for their limited catalog, and yet it sounds like something Buddy Holly could write. Like it's maybe perhaps inspired by that. I don't know if the album tells you this in the liner notes, but I think it was a sort of a Buddy Holly inspired piece, and it comes through in the recording. That's a more optimistic song, unlike Pale Blue Eyes, and yet it's still got this sort of tender sullenness to it that is implacably Lou Reed, implacably the whole band, uh, Sterling Morrison or Nico or um, Mo, the drummer, Doug Yule, all of that. It's very what's the guy who did John Cale, right? It's all very much engrossed and enwrapped. They are all very much enwrapped in this song. The pictures that you see on the album, it's just somber, almost gothic. Velvet Underground's a very remarkable uh, avant-garde group. I'm sure you know. So that's Sunday Morning. It's just like a breezy Buddy Holly song, but it's got this tragic corrosion in it that you can just sort of tear apart as you listen to it. A very cool song. But flies kind of under the radar, and you hear it in movies and TV shows to a limited extent. Anyway, number five. What are we getting down to? Let's do Sweet Jane. Gotta do Sweet Jane. I covered this sort of in the Lou Reed top 10, but he did a different version with guitar solos. They're like a flame and long winded and kind of, masquerading as razzmatazz. In this one, it's more like back to more of a hamburger and fries kind of meat and potatoes song, but it still sounds really kind of dainty and beautiful. And there is actually a lot of upbeat sort of rhythmic patterns that stand out more than in the Lou Reed version. So the rhythm is kind of great, and also the vocalization is really good. So it's a different, just a shift in emphasis, and it's also the original. So give that credit where it's due. Um, I think the Sweet Jane is probably number five, right? Number four, whatever. Who knows where we are? We're definitely not doing just 10. Um, Past that, I'd say we could go on the same album, Loaded. We could do uh, Sweet Nothing, which is a really um, a desolate song about the hopelessness of street life and the people you kind of meet with, where you have sort of chance love encounters that end up not really culminating. I've had some of those in my day, so I know what it's like to when Lou Reed or Doug Yule, sorry, is the singer. When Doug Yule sings about, and then she falls and Sweet Nothing and oh, the Jimmy Brown, like all this shit about people failing in their romantic endeavors because they're on drugs or because they're homeless or because whatever, because they're living haphazardly and making all sorts of mental mistakes. I know what that's like to an appreciable extent, and I think I can just sort of resonate with the music. I think it's a really harrowingly beautiful tune, and it's quite long, which is says a lot about it because if it were shorter, it wouldn't be enough, and if it were any bit longer, it wouldn't be really a song. Would it? It would be a whole album. So, oh, Sweet Nothing, offloaded is top four. Number three, did I do Femme Fatale? Yeah, I could do Femme Fatale. I think this is a song I played a ton. I'm not sure quite why, but it's a song about a woman that is just like a bold deceiver and a narcissist, and somehow that relates to the women in my life easily, and in manifold encounters and permutations. Um, yeah, so Femme Fatale is a rather starkly dark tune about betrayal, and it's also kind of based on a woman that they all knew, the band all knew, Warhol's Circle, and it's also about kind of a classic type of woman in literature that is someone that everyone has high hopes for, and then in the end is kind of an unsavory cutthroat. A very noir song. What's that? Number three, number two, number one. Number two is Candy Says. I think this is they're one of the more tender songs they ever did. They didn't do that many tender songs. Sorry, I mean they didn't do that many songs, but a few of them were tender. And this one is probably the most tender. I feel like this song is really sympathetic to whoever this woman was. I don't know the information from liner notes or anything like that or internet gossip. I just know that Candy Says is a song that kind of makes you think they're talking about like a promiscuous woman. And I mean, they're writing about a promiscuous woman who feels like she doesn't have enough compassion for in her life, enough sweetness, as it were. And there's a certain basic warmth in the song, but it's enwrapped by this sort of dark distancing effect that comes from a place of sort of introspection and pity. So that warmth, even though there's not a ton of it, it really is accentuated like chiaroscuro, like Rembrandt painting, and it just sort of shines through, like a candle in the night. And so I think Candy Says is sort of a deeply American song that is about sort of the hopelessness of a failed youth culture, which in the '60s was kind of and in the '50s and in the '70s it was kind of a recurring theme that failed coming of age narrative for so many people. Let alone going to war in Vietnam or Korea or experiencing electroshock therapy in the institutions, or just being abandoned by your family or whatever. Let alone all that. Growing up in a broken home, having a broken heart, 15, being senselessly beaten by parents, that kind of thing that gets brushed under the rug nowadays. That kind of stuff was written about somewhat more so in the mid-century, and especially by people like the Beat Generation and Velvet Underground, and later on, he kind of the '70s sort of did it as like a comedic format, almost like playing itself a little too seriously. But yeah, so that's number two. And number one, I mean, at this rate, they could all be kind of number one. The top five are all sort of pretty good. But Candy Says, I think, is great. Number two. Number three was Femme Fatale. I think the top three are pretty in line. Number four, Sweet Nothing. I think that's good for number four. Um, so yeah, I'm not disappointed by this list. Number one What am I missing? Forgetting. Uh, what am I forgetting here? At number one, Can Only Be True, the best song for me by you. Reach for the sky. It's all up there. The stars in heaven shake their derriere. Glitter. Okay, yeah. What's number one? Velvet Underground song. This is why you make lists, folks. Number one. Why am I thinking observe and report? White light, white heat. Hmm. I think I went through all of them. I think. I don't know. I don't know what. Let me look up on YouTube. Let me look up the. Let me. I have my TV can tell me. I know. I know. I have one. It's better than all these ones. I'm like tactically failing right now by not remembering uh, what exactly it was. Maybe I'm just trying to waste time and get us to the um, 20-minute mark, which I tend to do as a fault. So okay, YouTube. I have this laissez-faire dry wit that like no one likes, and I'm duly acknowledging it right now. Okay. Do. Velvet Underground. Great name for a band. It's like I never even think about what it means, and it means like the beautiful, it, disgusting. It's like an oxymoron, but it's actually an oxymoron that sort of has this like interior design aesthetic implied, which is amazing. Okay, rock and roll is not number one. After Hours, not number one for me. Could be. Maybe that's a song I need to listen to more. Venus and Furs. That's a good contender. Uh, Be Your Mirror. We did that. There She Goes Again. Hmm. That one might be a better one on the list. Uh, so the contenders are I'll Be Your Mirror. There She Goes Again. Here, let me listen to There She Goes Again real quick. This song's fun. My number one Velvet Underground song. Is it really? It might be. It might be. It's a pretty good one. I'm listening to After Hours. There She Goes Again is one I kind of overlook, but when I hear it, I always like it. Uh, and the best things in life are the things you take for granted. The stuff that makes you think is always kind of sadomasochistic a little. I don't want to have to think too much, ultimately. Um, it's just not good for your. It gives you brain cancer. I'm pretty sure. Okay, After Hours is pretty good. That is. It's a little too. It's not really a tune I like the sound of, but it's well composed or written at least. That's what I mean. Not composed. The writing is good. The composition is a little like hurdy gurdy for me. Um, yeah, I'll just do the thing that you kind of don't want me to do, and say that the song that's really inoffensive is the best song because it has this immortal like sort of doofusy quality where Stephanie Says. There's another one called Stephanie Says. Should have known that. They have a lot of like random. I guess there was an album I never got into. They're, yeah, this is also inoffensive and cutesy. I kind of like this one. These are all honorable mentions so far. You know, we got I all tomorrow's parties. That's another contender. Yeah, that one might be the top. Yeah, I think it's got to be. Yeah, what goes on is not that good for me. Um, Stephanie says is better. It's probably in the number 9 or 10, probably replacing. I'm waiting for the man. But number one, I would think is not Venus and Furs. I just don't. The violin shit is kind of jarring. All tomorrow's parties. I don't know. There she goes again's pretty cool. I think it's the least annoying song, and by deductive reasoning, that means it makes it the best. So there she goes again, somehow, despite all the odds, is the number one Velvet Underground song on this list. Which, to be fair, doesn't mean a whole lot. And if it does, you'll be scratching your head as to what makes it so. Anyway, um, that's 22 minutes. So remember truth, not just joy, because on this channel we try to remember truth. But in some sense, remembering joy is a lot more important. Because without joy, who gives a fuck about truth anyway? All right, cheers. And I'll be moving soon. This might be the last time you see me in this room. This is the room that I spent almost 20 years of my life in as a baby boy and adolescent and never do well, 10-year-old and all that jazz. All right, cheers. Abrupt finish.